With their opponent solidified and the stage set, the Warriors start their journey for title number 5. Let's talk about it. So the Warriors finally get a play-in win. They were previously 0-3 in the play-in. It feels good to finally win one. Coming into this matchup against the Memphis Grizzlies, the Warriors were faced with a must-win game, because if you lose this game, you now gotta play another play-in game against the Dallas Mavericks, and there's no guarantee you're winning that game. Any team could beat any team in a one-off game. But even if you did beat the Mavericks, your reward, the 68-win OKC Thunder, coming off a 48-hour turnaround, playing 2 extra high-intensity games with basically no rest against a Thunder team that's been rested for over a week. So this game against Memphis was their season. It was a must-win, because if you lose this game, you're done. But luckily the Warriors took care of business, so now they get 4 full off days before the start of the Rockets series in Houston, which is essential if this team wanted any chance of making a deep playoff run. You got Steph, who's dealing with his thumb injury on his shooting hand, and you got Jimmy Butler, who reportedly has a deep thigh contusion according to Shams Charania. And I'm not gonna lie, when I saw the Shams report that Jimmy has a deep thigh contusion, I thought he might be extremely limited this game. I was fully expecting to see Jimmy Iguodala for this game, but we didn't get no Jimmy Iguodala tonight. We got playoff Jimmy. Jimmy Butler absolutely destroyed the Memphis Grizzlies. He finished the game with 38 points and 18 free throw attempts. Memphis really thought they were doing something putting Zach Edey on Jimmy Butler and sagging way off. Well, that didn't work, because Jimmy made 2 threes in the first quarter. And outside of him making them pay from 3 for sagging off, the man's a monster getting to the rim, and his first step is absolutely insane. Teams think sagging off is going to prevent him from getting to the rim, but really all they're really doing is giving him a runway to pick up steam and get downhill. And when he's getting downhill, he's extremely strong and extremely crafty. So yeah, Jimmy torched the Memphis Grizzlies game plan.
What does the nickname Playoff Jimmy mean to you, though?
Yeah, he's different. You can just see a whole different intensity level and focus. I'm a basketball fan, so I've watched it on TV for years. To see it up close and personal, like, it's a real thing. Sometimes you get in the NBA and like these guys come get these nicknames and you're like, man, stop it. Like, there's some other nicknames out there, they not real. That one's real, and I'm happy he on our side. I think what's great is that everyone else is adjusting to it, because he's way more aggressive to score. He hadn't yelled at anybody all since he's been here. He's like yelling at guys now. Like, it's a totally different person. But I think the way guys are adjusting to it is beautiful. So we got to make sure we keep doing that. But it's a completely different person.
What's Jimmy been yelling about?
Everything. Guys take a bad shot, guys don't get loose balls. He go a couple possessions without touching the ball, he's going crazy right now. Like, yo, I have to get the ball. I have to touch the ball. As someone who's been in a million playoff series, very interesting to watch the shift. I'm enjoying it.
Next up, let's talk about the chef. So the Grizzlies had Scottie Pippen Jr. guarding Steph, and basically their defensive game plan was just to hold Steph. Just hold on. Do whatever you want to do to him until the refs call a foul. If the refs actually officiated Steph the same as everybody else, Scottie Pippen Jr. would have fouled out in the first quarter, bro. I'm dead serious. You can go back and watch the film. In every single play, Scottie Jr. is holding Steph. But guess what? The chef is still cooking. 37 points on your head, including his late fourth quarter corner 3, which is great because it was an action that included Steph, Jimmy, and Draymond, your 3 smartest and best players, all resulting in the greatest shooter of all time getting a wide open look from 3. And then the biggest shot of the game, Steph hit this nasty double pump fake 3. Yo, how many other players are taking this shot? For anybody else in the world, this is a bad shot, but for Steph, it's just another day in the office. Steph ended up scoring the Warriors' final 10 points and put the Grizzlies to bed. But shout out to playoff Jimmy for carrying the load and getting them there. He got the Warriors to the final stretch and let Steph Curry close. Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler just might be the best duo in the league. And according to Jimmy postgame, Steph's Batman and Jimmy's proud to be his Robin.
How do you feel about this group and what you guys are capable of doing?
I think any team has a chance when I'm on the team, but I know that every team has a chance if Steph's on the team. So I get to play Robin. That's my Batman, and I don't know who else is. We got all the villains over there, Two-Face and Joker and Riddler, everybody else in the Western Conference. But we got a lot of games to win.
Now let's talk about these refs a little bit more, because there were some other plays that had me scratching my head where I was like, okay, these refs is literally cheating, bro. Like, they're cheating right now. Like, this is crazy. There was just so many head scratching calls that it was just mind boggling. The Draymond Zach Edey foul. How's that a foul on Draymond when Zach Edey's the one holding him down? Instead of Zach Edey fouling out, this terrible call gave Draymond his 5th. So the Warriors were like, hell nah, review that. So they challenged the call. And guess what? The refs doubled down and said it was still a foul on Draymond. That's one of the most ridiculous calls I've ever seen in my life. They really watched that replay and said, nah, foul on Draymond. That's crazy, bro. At this point, I was convinced the refs were protecting Zach Edey from fouling out. So from this point forward, Zach Edey was like, oh, okay, let's get to it then. They ain't calling it on me, let's go. And I kid you not only did this dude play with 6 fouls, I swear he picked up another 3 or 4 the rest of the game and didn't get called one time. It was absolutely insane. So anyways, the game continues. Late in the fourth, there was another battle for a rebound. Edey has a jump on the ball, but Looney gets his hands in there and the ball goes free. As Moody's trying to grab it, Edey just straight up just pushes Moody to the floor. This dude's an absolute maniac. He's 7'4" out there, just pushing people out the way, running dudes over, just playing crazy aggressive because he knows the refs ain't gonna call it. And guess what? The refs didn't call this one either. They called a phantom foul on Looney. It was ridiculous. The refs did absolutely everything they could to hand the Grizzlies this game in the last 2 minutes. But luckily, thanks to Steph's heroics late, and the Grizzlies tricking off this game with a 5-second violation, the Warriors pull it out. A few other notes on this game before we move to the Houston Rockets preview. Quentin Post looked ready for the moment, and he played a great game. He had 11 points, 5 rebounds, and went 3 of 4 from 3. He opened up the offense for the Warriors and kept the Memphis Grizzlies defense honest. Whether or not Quentin Post can survive defensively against the Houston Rockets is going to be a huge X factor in that series. If Quentin Post is solid defensively and he's hitting 40+% from 3, he's invaluable to this Warriors rotation. So shout out to Quentin Post, who's ready for the playoffs. I also want to give a quick shout out to Guy Santos. He didn't play much this game, but in the spot minutes he did get, the dude was a menace on the boards. Guy's hustle is insane, man, and he has a crazy knack for the ball. I think the Warriors actually could have played him a little more this game. And to be honest with you, he should have played against the Clippers. Given what Guy provides as a rebounder and a hustle player, the guy gets every 50-50 ball. He crashes the boards like a menace. I honestly think the Warriors would have won that Clippers game if Guy Santos played. Steve Curry even admitted after the Clippers game that he regretted not playing Guy Santos. And we can see why. Even in spot minutes, he makes an impact. Alright, now let's get to this Rockets preview. So looking at the schedule, Game 1 starts Sunday, April 20th at 6:30 p.m. in Houston. Game 2 doesn't start until Wednesday, April 23rd. Game 3 is Saturday, April 26th in San Francisco. So between Games 1, 2, and 3, there's 2 days of rest. That's very fortunate for the Warriors, who's an older veteran team that just came off a taxing into the regular season trying to play catch up. But after that, for Games 4 through 7, the games are every other day. So Game 4 is Monday, April 28th. Game 5 is Wednesday, April 30th. Game 6 is Friday, May 2nd. And Game 7 is Sunday, May 4th. So for Games 4 through 7, the schedule favors the Rockets, who's a younger team. Honestly, that's fine. What's most important is that the Warriors get 4 off days before the start of Game 1. 4 days of rest for Steph, Jimmy, and Draymond to recover, and for this Warriors coaching staff to prepare. Steve Curry said this is his favorite time of the year.
How do you balance the rest and recovery against preparing for the next series, and what do these next 4 days look like for you?
This is what we do. I mean, this is so fun. It's the best time of the year. You know, this is year 11. Maybe my favorite day of the season is tomorrow. We come in as a staff. We look at Houston tape. We start to put together our game plan. The players are resting. We got a couple of days before we'll see the players again. We get to go to work and try to beat a great team in a 7-game series. There's nothing better. So I can't wait.
Now, before we get into some stats for these teams, let's set the table for the series real quick. So, Ime Udoka is the head coach for the Houston Rockets. As y'all might remember, he was the coach of the 2022 Celtics that the Warriors beat in the finals. So he does have experience scheming against the Warriors. And although Steve Kerr got the best of him in the finals, I think Ime is a really good coach. He also had some comments after the Warriors lost to the Rockets, where he was basically implying that Steph and the Warriors were soft for complaining about calls. Trust me, I promise you Steph, Jimmy, and Draymond heard those comments. And that's going to be in the back of their mind this whole series. So we going to see, man. The Rockets also got Dillon Brooks, who has his own history with Golden State. Dillon Brooks clobbered GP2 midair and basically broke his elbow. Brooks is just overall just an annoying nuisance, just irritator. He is a pretty rugged player, I'll give him that. And the Rockets are 4th in defensive rating. So this series is going to be an extremely physical dogfight. By the way, we also got Amen Thompson, who's an Oakland product. Shout out to both Thompson bros doing their thing on playoff teams. Sar's on the Pistons doing his thing. And they're playing the Knicks in the first round, which should be an interesting series. But I'm proud of the Thompson twins. Anybody who's a Bay Area product, I'm definitely going to support. But not this series. Look, Amen's already one of the best defenders in the league. So he's going to make his presence felt this series. And the Rockets are for sure going to put him on Steph. And yes, he did a great job on Steph in their last meeting, holding him to only 3 points. That was partially good defense, but also I think Steph was just tired. So yeah, shout out to Amen. But let's see you guard Steph over a 7-game series. Alright, as for these stat comparisons, the Rockets in the regular season with a 115.3 offensive rating, which is 13th in the league, a 110.8 defensive rating, which is 4th in the league, and a 4.6 net rating, which is 7th. The Warriors, on the other hand, finished with a 115 offensive rating, which is 15th, a 111.7 defensive rating, which is 7th, and a 3.3 net rating, which is 10th. But since the Jimmy Butler trade started February 27th, the Warriors have an offensive rating of 120.7, a defensive rating of 111, and a 9.7 net rating. So yeah, for the season, the Rockets have slightly better stats, as well as a better record. But since the Jimmy Butler trade, the Warriors have been a better team. These teams played each other 5 times this season. The Warriors win the season series 3-2. They won the first 2, lost the 3rd, won the 4th, and lost the 5th. By the way, there's a few of those games where Steph didn't play. There was literally a game where the Warriors lineup was Dennis Schroeder, Schroeder, Trace Jackson Davis, Kyle Anderson. So the season series, I'm not even counting that, man. You could just throw that in the garbage.
That loss to the Rockets recently was, probably one of your guys' collective worst games in this stretch. What do you kind of remember from that game? What didn't work?
Turnovers.
Yeah.
We turn the ball over a lot. Can't win whenever they get so many more possessions than we do. We take care of the ball, I think we'll be in a good spot.
What about their, I guess, team construction is difficult to score against?
I think if we worry about us, we'll be just fine.
Now let's talk about the Rockets' strengths. They're one of the best offensive rebounding teams in the league. They run an Alfred Sengun, Steven Adams frontcourt that absolutely bludgeons teams on the boards. They're also one of the most athletic teams. When you think about players like Amen, Jalen Green, Tari Eason, Jabari Smith, even Cam Whitmore off the bench, and they're extremely physical defensively. They got great point of attack defenders with Amon Thompson, Dylan Brooks, and Jabari Smith. Offensively, they got guys like Jalen Green who can get hot, and then they got Sengun who's their offensive hub. He's basically a very, very poor man's Jokic. Obviously nowhere near as good though, but he is a pretty solid player that you have to account for. The last time the Rockets and Warriors played, Sengun and Draymond Green was going at it. If it's one thing I really can't stand, it's big men that be flopping excessively. This dude Sengun is a type that will play super aggressive on offense. He'll be banging down low, throwing elbows, clearing dudes out. Like, he's a pretty big dude. He's at least 6'11", 260. He'll be out there throwing his weight around. But at the same time, this dude will be flopping, bro. In their last matchup, he was instigating all the contact with Draymond. And then once Draymond tried to match his physicality, he'd immediately just flop. It worked though. He definitely baited Draymond into a few fouls, technicals. Draymond's gonna have to be careful with this matchup because he's constantly gonna be baiting him all series. All right, let's talk about some of Houston's weaknesses. Their half-court offense is not great. They don't really have an efficient go-to scorer. Their best offensive players are Jalen Green and Sengun, who although they put up points, they're not that efficient. The Rockets' offense is carried by number one, their offensive rebounding, where they're legit one of, if not the best rebounding team in the league. Between Sengun and Adams up front and all the athletes they have on the wing crashing the boards. The other thing that helps their offense is the fast break. And when they get out running with all their athletes, they're extremely hard to stop. So if the Warriors want to win this series, here are the keys to victory. Number one, keep Houston off the offensive glass. Knowing Ime Udoka, he's going to lean into their size advantage and try to impose his will on a smaller, more older Warriors team. So it's imperative that the Warriors keep the Rockets off the glass. Now you can't completely keep the Rockets off the offensive glass, but the Warriors better be team rebounding. Everyone needs to box out. Everyone needs to run down long rebounds. The Warriors guards like Paz and Moody, they're going to have to come back and help the big men. Another way the Warriors can help neutralize the Rockets' advantage on offensive boards. When Houston goes to that Steven Adams Sengun front court, the Warriors got to play them off the court. So the way that looks is Steph Curry getting Sengun and Steven Adams in actions, relentlessly attacking them. Make them get out on the perimeter and guard in space. Steven Adams is a pure drop big. He wants no parts of getting out on the perimeter. So the Warriors can make them pay defensively for running that clunky front court. Ime is going to be forced to take Adams off the court, and possibly Sengun as well. Now Houston does have a possible counter in their back pocket, because they do run lineups with Jabari Smith as their small ball center, where he's solid defensively. He's able to switch and provides length at 6'10". The next key to victory for the Warriors, they got to keep the Rockets out of transition, and what that looks like is taking care of the ball. If the Warriors are throwing the ball all over the gym, the Rockets are going to have a field day in transition. I don't think it's wise for this older Warriors team to get into a track meet with the Rockets. That's a situation where the Rockets' athleticism could overwhelm the Warriors. So take care of the ball, minimize turnovers, don't go for the home run passes, and especially no live ball turnovers. Like I said, the Rockets' half-court offense is sorry. So when you can manage the offensive rebound advantage and keep them out of transition, the Warriors have one of the best defenses in the league. Force Jalen Green and Alfred Sengun to score in the half court. I bet they can't do it effectively over a 7-game series. As for my official prediction for the series, I got the Warriors in 6. My reasoning is simple. The Warriors got the 2 best players in the series, easily. I don't think anybody can argue that in this series, Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler are the 2 best players on the court. On top of that, the Warriors have an elite defense of their own, anchored by the Defensive Player of the Year, Draymond Green. The next reason, the Warriors have proven playoff players that have won multiple championships and have gone deep in the playoffs. Houston has a lot of young dudes that haven't been there before. Steph Curry, Draymond Green, Kevon Looney. These guys have been there. Jimmy Butler, he hasn't won a championship, but he's been in the league, 14 years, and he's been to the finals twice. They have proven playoff players. Besides Fred VanVleet and Dylan Brooks, no one else on their team has sniffed the playoffs. Jalen Green, his first playoffs. Alfred Sengun, his first playoffs. These are some young, nice players, but let's see how they look in a playoff series. I feel like people underestimate experience advantages. Which team has better counters, the Warriors or Rockets? I'm gonna go with the more experienced team that has players and a coach that have actually thrown and survived counter punches in the playoffs. We have no idea if the Rockets have counter punches to throw, let alone handle. So anyways, that's my season preview. I got the Warriors in 6, and that's all I got for y'all. If I entertained you or you learned something new, do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button. Also, follow your boy on Instagram. I'll holler at you on the next one. Peace.